you'll discover the psychological principle Machiavelli identified 500 years ago that separates men who inspire lasting admiration from those who generate only temporary interest. This isn't about manipulation or games. It's about a fundamental truth of human nature that 99% of men completely ignore. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why constantly trying to please sabotages relationships, what the alternative is that actually works, and how to apply it today with 3 practical techniques that transform relationship dynamics. But before revealing the principle, you need to understand why the most common approach is doomed to failure. There's a cruel paradox in modern relationships. The more a man constantly tries to please a woman, the less attracted she becomes to him. Not because women are complicated or ungrateful, but for a deep psychological reason most men don't understand. Constantly pleasing behavior manifests itself in many ways. Agreeing with everything she says even when you think differently. Canceling your plans whenever she needs something. Avoiding any kind of conflict or disagreement. Demonstrating total and immediate availability. Anticipating her needs before she even expresses them. And constantly looking for signs of approval in every interaction. On the surface, this seems like ideal behavior in a partner. After all, who doesn't want someone attentive, available, and dedicated? The problem is that this behavior communicates something completely different than you imagine. When you always agree, you seem to lack your own opinion or a defined personality. When you constantly cancel plans, you communicate that your life lacks independent purpose. When you avoid conflict, you seem incapable of advocating for your own needs. When you're always available, you suggest you have no other priorities or people who value your time. This dynamic creates what psychologists call over-availability devaluation. It's an economic principle applied to relationships. What's always available loses perceived value. It's not cruelty, it's human nature. But there's something even deeper going on. Women, like all human beings, are attracted to people who demonstrate genuine self-esteem. Self-esteem isn't arrogance or selfishness. It's the ability to value your own needs, opinions, and limits in a balanced way. When you systematically compromise your preferences, you unconsciously communicate that you don't value yourself. And here's the paradox: it's impossible for someone else to value you more than you value yourself. If you treat your own opinions, time, and energy as disposable, why should they treat them as precious? Furthermore, healthy relationships depend on creative tension, not destructive conflict, but the tension that comes from the interaction between 2 distinct and whole personalities. When you become an echo of her preferences, that tension disappears, and with it, the spark that keeps relationships alive and interesting. The end result is that you become predictable, unchallenging, and unmysterious. You transform from an intriguing man into a comforting but unstimulating presence. And while comforting presence has its place, it's not what inspires passion or deep admiration. Now, what Machiavelli really discovered about power and relationships that can completely transform your approach. Niccolo Machiavelli was not a relationship counselor, but his observations about human nature and power dynamics reveal profound truths that apply to all human interactions, including intimate relationships. The principle 99% of men ignore isn't be cruel or manipulate. It's something much more subtle and powerful. Be admired for who you are, not loved for who you pretend to be. Machiavelli observed that effective leaders balance 2 seemingly contradictory qualities: benevolence and firmness. They are generous with their support, but inflexible with their principles. They are affectionate with allies, but ruthless with behaviors that violate their values. This combination creates what he called love based on respect, different from fear or blind adoration. Applied to modern relationships, this means being loving and attentive, but never to the point of betrayal. You should support your partner, but not at the expense of your own integrity. You should be generous with your energy, but selective about when and how you offer it. Machiavelli also identified something crucial about power. It is most effective when it doesn't need to be exercised. The most respected leaders were those who rarely needed to assert their authority because everyone already recognized it naturally. They didn't shout to be heard. Their words carried weight because they were carefully chosen and backed by consistent actions. In relationships, this translates into the difference between men who constantly need to prove their worth through gifts, exaggerated declarations, excessive availability, and men whose worth is self-evident through how they live their lives. The modern Machiavellian man doesn't try to impress through desperate grand gestures. He impresses through the consistent quality of his character. He doesn't constantly declare his love. He demonstrates it through thoughtful actions and conscious choices. Here's the part most men miss. Machiavelli emphasized that true power comes from others wanting to be close to you, not from you needing to keep them close. The difference is subtle but transformative. When you operate from need, requiring validation, approval, or constant presence, you communicate weakness. When you operate from abundance, offering value because you choose to, not because you need to, you communicate strength. Machiavelli also observed that people respect those who have clear standards. Effective leaders didn't accept just any behavior. They had defined boundaries and maintained them consistently. In relationships, this means having clear standards for how you want to be treated and not negotiating those standards for fear of losing the person. Paradoxically, when you demonstrate that you're willing to lose someone to maintain your integrity, you become more valuable to that person, not because they enjoy drama, but because they recognize that they're dealing with someone with genuine self-esteem. The Machiavellian principle in relationships is therefore, be someone she chooses to be around, not someone she feels obligated to keep out of pity, gratitude, or habit. The first practical application of this principle goes against everything you've been taught about harmony in relationships. The first Machiavellian tool is constructive disagreement, the ability to maintain your own perspective, even when it differs from your partner's, but in a way that enriches the relationship rather than harms it. Men who ignore this principle believe that agreeing will always keep the peace. In reality, excessive agreement creates superficial relationships and pent-up resentment. When you never disagree, you become a two-dimensional character in her life. Predictable, lacking depth, and lacking interesting surprises. Constructive disagreement doesn't mean being stubborn or argumentative. It means having genuine opinions and expressing them respectfully and thoughtfully. For example, if she wants to watch a movie you're not interested in, instead of automatically agreeing, you could say, "I'm not really excited about that genre. How about we choose something we can both enjoy? Or can we watch your movie today and I'll choose the next one?" The difference lies in the approach. You're not rejecting her. You're negotiating a solution that respects both preferences. This communicates that you value your own experience and hers equally. Constructive disagreement also applies to more serious issues. If she makes a decision that affects both of you without consulting you, instead of swallowing your discomfort, you can say, "I understand your logic, but I felt excluded from the decision. In future situations like this, can we talk first? I value your independence and also like to contribute when something affects us." This type of communication does several things simultaneously. It demonstrates that you have boundaries. It shows that you value the relationship enough to invest energy in improving it, and it offers a solution instead of just complaining. Women often test, consciously or unconsciously, whether a man has his own opinion. This isn't manipulation. It's a natural instinct to figure out whether she's dealing with an authentic personality or someone who will bend to her will. When you always agree, you fail this test. When you disagree constructively, you pass with flying colors because you demonstrate that you're capable of maintaining your integrity while navigating differences with maturity. Another crucial aspect. Constructive disagreement involves knowing when to give in. Machiavelli was pragmatic. He knew that some battles aren't worth fighting. If the issue is genuinely irrelevant to you, it's okay to let her choose. The key is that your decision to give in is conscious, not automatic. For example, if she wants Italian for dinner and you prefer Japanese, but it really doesn't matter to you, you could say, "I prefer Japanese, but I also like Italian. Let's go with Italian tonight." This communicates that you have a preference but are flexible when the topic isn't important. The formula for constructive disagreement is, "I see it this way, your perspective. I understand that you see it this way, her perspective. How about we find a middle ground that works for both of us? Collaborative solution?" Practice this in small conversations first, choosing a restaurant, a movie, weekend plans. Once you master constructive disagreement on smaller issues, it will become natural to apply it to more important topics. Remember, the goal isn't to win arguments, it's to maintain your authenticity while building solutions together. When you do this consistently, she learns to value your opinion because she knows you only disagree when it truly matters. The second tool will challenge your belief that being always available shows love. Strategic availability is the balance between being present when you choose and maintaining a rich, independent life that doesn't revolve around her. It's the difference between a man who has an interesting life and chooses to share it with her versus a man who lives waiting for her. Most men believe that showing love means being completely and immediately available. They cancel plans with friends when she needs something, respond to messages instantly, and completely rearrange their schedules to fit hers. On the surface, this seems like dedication. In practice, it communicates desperation and a lack of independent purpose. Strategic availability works differently. You're genuinely present when you choose to be, but you maintain commitments to yourself and other important areas of your life. This isn't coldness or manipulation. It's mature self-management. For example, if you have plans to work out with a friend and she asks to meet at the same time, instead of automatically canceling, you could say, "I'd love to see you, but I already confirmed this appointment. Can I meet you after workout or can we schedule it for tomorrow when works best for you?" This response does several things. It shows you keep your word, attractive quality. It demonstrates you have an active life, interesting. It offers alternatives, considerate, and it leaves the choice to her, respectful. Strategic availability also applies to digital communication. Instead of responding to messages instantly as if you were waiting by the phone, respond when you would naturally check messages. This doesn't mean ignoring or playing games. It means living your life normally and communicating within the natural flow of your day. When she invites you to something, genuinely consider whether you want to participate instead of automatically saying yes. If you genuinely want to go, go enthusiastically. If you don't want to go but go out of obligation, you'll be there physically but not emotionally, which is worse than not going at all. The key to strategic availability is that your choices are based on genuine willingness, not fear of disappointing. When you're present because you choose to be, your energy is completely different. You're engaged, interested, and actively contributing. When you're present out of obligation, you're apathetic, distracted, and emotionally absent. Women notice this difference unconsciously. They prefer a man who is available 70% of the time but 100% present when he is, rather than a man who is physically available 100% of the time but emotionally absent half of the time. Strategic availability also includes having personal projects that stimulate you. It could be a hobby, a professional goal, physical activity, or new learning, something that gives you energy and a sense of progress, regardless of your relationship. When you have your own passions, you become more engaging and less dependent on their validation for fulfillment. This creates a positive cycle. You have your own energy, you're genuinely excited about areas of your life. You share these interests with her naturally. She sees you as someone who is growing and evolving, and she wants to be part of that journey rather than being the sole center of it. The formula for strategic availability is, keep commitments to yourself first, then be fully present in your commitments to her. When you do this, your presence becomes a gift she values, not a constant she takes for granted. Practice starting small. Maintain a weekly activity that's just for you. Respond to messages at your natural pace, and don't cancel important plans for requests that can wait. Notice how this affects the dynamic between you. The third tool is about becoming someone she respects and admires, not just someone she likes. Emotional leadership is the ability to maintain your emotional stability despite her mood fluctuations, and to offer a calm, centered presence that she can use as an anchor in difficult times. It's not about controlling her emotions. It's about being responsible for yours. Most men react to their partner's emotions as if they were responsible for them. If she's sad, they feel guilty. If she's angry, they feel anxious. If she's distant, they despair. This emotional reactivity communicates that you lack self-centeredness, that your inner state is completely dependent on her mood. Emotional leadership works differently. You acknowledge and validate her emotions without becoming hostage to them. You offer support without taking responsibility for fixing her. You maintain your own stability while creating a safe space for her emotions. For example, if she comes home stressed from work and vents her frustrations on you, the common reaction would be to defend yourself or try to solve her problems immediately. Emotional leadership would be to say, "I see you've had a rough day. Do you want to talk about it, or would you prefer some time to process? I'm here if you need it." This response does several things. It acknowledges her emotional state without becoming reactive. It offers options instead of imposing solutions, and it demonstrates an available presence without pressure. You're being helpful without becoming an emotional doormat. Emotional leadership also means not trying to control her reactions to your decisions. If you make a decision she doesn't initially like, instead of immediately reversing it to avoid discomfort, you stand your ground and create space for her to process. For example, if you decide to go out with friends on a day she'd prefer to be together, and she gets upset, you could say, "I understand why you wanted me to stay. These plans are important to me, so I'm going to keep them. Can we plan something special for tomorrow night?" You're being empathetic without becoming reactive or blaming. An important part of emotional leadership is not trying to be her therapist. You can offer emotional support without becoming responsible for solving all her problems. When she shares her struggles, sometimes she just wants to be heard, not fixed. Ask, "Do you want my perspective or do you just need to vent?" This shows that you understand the difference between emotional support and problem solving. Emotional leadership also includes maintaining your own emotional hygiene. This means processing your own frustrations, anxieties, and insecurities independently, through exercise, talking with friends, personal reflection, and hobbies that center you, instead of taking it all out on her. When you manage your own emotions well, you have the emotional energy to offer genuine support when she needs it. When you constantly need validation or emotional support from her, you become a drain rather than a source of stability. Another crucial aspect: know when to give space. Sometimes the best emotional leadership is recognizing that they need time to process alone. "I'll give you some time to think. Whenever you want to talk, I'll be available," can be more helpful than insisting on resolving everything immediately. The formula for emotional leadership is: stay centered, offer a calm presence, validate without becoming reactive, support without taking responsibility for their problems, and manage your own emotions independently. Practice starting with smaller situations. When she's mildly upset about something at work, practice listening without trying to fix it. When you're frustrated, process it before sharing, not during. Notice how your emotional stability affects the dynamic between you. Now that you know the 3 tools, I'll give you the implementation plan that will make all the difference. Understanding these tools is just the beginning. Real transformation happens when you integrate them naturally into your behavior, and this requires a mindset shift, not just techniques. The fundamental mindset is to stop thinking in terms of winning or keeping her, and start thinking in terms of being someone worth choosing. The difference is subtle, but revolutionary. In the first case, you're always trying to prove your worth. In the second, you're simply being valuable. Phased implementation. Week 1. Constructive disagreement. Start by practicing with small, low-stakes decisions. If she suggests a restaurant that doesn't excite you, instead of automatically agreeing, say, "I prefer your suggestion, but if you're in the mood for her suggestion, we can go." Or how about third option that we both like? Practice this in at least 3 small situations throughout the week. Week 2. Strategic availability. Identify a personal activity or commitment that's important to you and stick to it, even if she invites you to do it at the same time. Offer genuine alternatives. Notice how you feel about keeping this commitment and how she responds. Week 3. Emotional leadership. When she shares a frustration or problem, practice listening without immediately trying to solve it. Ask questions like, "How can I support you with this?" Or, "Do you want my perspective or do you just need to vent?" Notice the difference in the quality of the conversation. Crucial mindset: abundance versus scarcity. The Machiavellian principle works when it comes from a mindset of abundance, not scarcity. Abundance means recognizing that you have value regardless of the relationship, that there are others who could value you, and that healthy relationships are ongoing mutual choices, not permanent achievements. Scarcity would be using these techniques out of fear of losing someone, or to try to manipulate someone into valuing you more. This doesn't work because the energy behind the actions communicates more than the actions themselves. How to know if you are on the right track? You feel more authentic and aligned with yourself. Conversations become more interesting and less predictable. She starts asking for your opinion more on important things. Discussions become collaborative negotiations, not destructive conflicts. You feel less anxious about the relationship status. She shows more respect for your needs and limits. Signs you're missing the mark. You are using the techniques to win or prove points. Feel resentful when she doesn't react as expected. You are being stubborn or inflexible on principle, not genuine conviction. Interactions become more tense or conflictual without resolution. You feel like you're playing a role. The final test. Ask yourself, if this relationship ended tomorrow, would I still be the same person I'm becoming? If the answer is yes, you're on the right track. If it's no, you're performing instead of being authentic. Remember that behavioral change takes time to reflect on the relationship dynamics. Don't expect immediate results. Focus on being consistent for at least 30 days before evaluating the results. The ultimate goal isn't to control her, but to control yourself. When you master this, relationships become much more satisfying and sustainable for both of you. If you want to go deeper on this path of personal growth and authentic relationships, I have something that might interest you. If you've made it this far, it's because you understand that lasting relationships are built on authenticity and mutual growth, not on games or manipulation. You're on the right track. If this content helped you, subscribe to the channel for more content on personal development and healthy relationships. Share with friends who are also seeking personal growth. Leave a comment telling us which tool you'll implement first. The most attractive man is the one who doesn't need external validation because he's found his own worth. When you live from this place, relationships become about sharing abundance, not filling needs. See you in the next video, where we'll explore how to apply these principles at different stages of a relationship. Continue investing in yourself. It's the best investment you can make.